So, y'all, I'm on my way to Wilmington, North Carolina. Got a load to pick up from there and take it up to Chester, Virginia. I figured I would come in here and say a few words because it's been a while. This channel was suspended for 2 weeks due to a video I made about the LGBTQ community, black LGBTQ community. They suspended this channel for 2 weeks, so it looks like we should be good money now. I wanted to come here and discuss a few things in the midst of the amount of racial conversations that are being had. Some of us, many of us, are new to having these conversations, in which I see a lot of things being allowed to be said that I disagree with. And I want the black people that are going to be having conversations about race, or calling yourself standing up for your race, when you are against the caves, to understand what you're saying and what they're saying. What I notice a lot of times is when you talk to white people, the caves, when you talk to them about racism, they individualize it. And what I mean when I say that is they talk about how non-racist they are. And many times when you allow them to go along this path, what you'll see is, if you're like me, I guess I'll say if you be 1, 2, 3, is that I'm not really giving a fuck much about your personal individual racism at all. My concern is the racism that takes place at the hands of the system. And a lot of us allow this conversation to get confused. This is why we will look at taking down statues and getting rid of Confederate flags as signs of progress, because we don't want to deal with the fact that this is a system that is in place. It's not about the individual. It's not about someone calling a black person a nigger. I could give a fuck less about that. I can defend myself against that. These hands, okay? That's not my issue. And that, when we allow the conversation to become about that, it minimizes everything that we're talking about. It minimizes everything that at least, again, I'm saying. Because I don't give a fuck about a white person saying the word nigger, calling somebody a nigger. I can give a fuck less about the Klan marching, the statues that's up, the flags. I don't care about all of that. And I think that many of us, we lack the foresight to make the conversation bigger than that. This is about a system that is in place that has targeted my people for centuries now. That's what this is about. It's not about Aunt Jemima on a goddamn pancake box. It's not about Uncle Ben's on the rice. All this stuff that they're doing, what it lets me know is that they minimize racism to what would be small to me, superficial things. I'm talking more about the system that allows these cops to get away with murdering black people. The system that targets black people within this system and making us the majority of the prison population. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about systematic and institutional racism. And many of us, we're not talking about that. There is no way you're going to get rid of racism. It's impossible. That's not my goal, is to get rid of lower level, street level racism. My ideal and my ideology is for black people to learn how to stand up for themselves against the systematic racism, as opposed to taking the path of assimilation and then surprise. That's my issue. We take the path of assimilation and then surprise. That's what I noticed that we do. We'll assimilate, we'll do everything they want us to do, and then we'll be surprised that we're experiencing racism on an institutional level. You thought the judge had your back? Y'all should know by now, judges don't have your back. So see, when we're talking about this, and I've made this point before, but we have to make sure that we understand this. it's not just police brutality that's going on out here. There are several levels of racism that take place on an institutional level. It's not the cop that's going to murder the black man or woman. It is the system that's going to let them off. That is my concern. That is my main concern. It's the system that's going to let them get away with it. And I feel like we're allowing this conversation to just be about the surface level. Not the system. Not the judge. Not the banker. Not the loan officer. We talked about this as well in another one of my videos. Not the coroner. Not the medical examiner. We are making this, the racism that we endured, we're minimizing. That's what I see us doing. We're making it about a Robert E. Lee statue. And then when we're having these debates with white people, we're trying to convince them that racism is real based on the fact that racists exist. And they will always say, well, that's not me. That's how they'll defend themselves. They'll say, that's not me. I don't treat people like that. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the system that you clearly have no issue with because you're talking about yourself. So we're not on the same page about this. There's no way we're on the same page about this because what you're talking about, I'm not even speaking about. I could give a fuck less if you're racist, if your mama racist, if your daddy racist. I don't care about that. This system allows racism to thrive. That's just fact of the matter. That's just bottom line. And thus, the systematic racism is going to be what I'm talking about. I can't say what anybody else is talking about. Because there are plenty of black people who are out here begging white people to see us as equal, to see us as the same, to have this, almost a love for black people that I don't need that. I don't need for white people to like me. I need for this system who disguises itself as being one for the people to actually be what it's saying that it is. That's what I'm holding this society accountable for. And that's what we should be holding the society accountable for. And I know that that's not how they see this. That's not how they see the situation, which is why you're getting these little symbolic, trash ass gestures passed to us. And that's not the conversation. That's not the conversation at all. And we have to stop having these type of racial debates about racists. On ground level races. Like, that's not what the conversation is about. I think that takes away from everything that we're doing out here. Again, if you're in my mindset, because I can defend myself against somebody calling me a nigger. I'm not one of the black people that's going to record it and look at this racist, can you believe? I'm not going to do all of that. I'm not raising my children to do that either. You knock these motherfuckers' heads off and you keep moving. They're going to exist. That's not the issue. It's not the issue at all. The issue is this country that will not repair the damage that has been done by these institutions that promote and practice racism. That's just what it is to me. This country that claims that it's not about that. It's moved past that. The same country that will tell black people to move past racism. We have to stop living in the past when these things are still taking place. To me, that should be the conversation we have. That should be the conversation that we're dealing with. If you're going to be into these types of debates with the Caves or with other black people even. I'm not trying to rid the world of every white person that says the word nigger because I don't give a fuck about them. They can see me in the streets. No problem. That judge though, that banker, what we've had happen in the real estate market to our people, how we've been stripped of resources. That is my concern. The fact that every lynching is ruled a suicide, that's my concern. Not the word nigger, not Aunt Jemima, not Uncle Ben's. Not what I seen the NBA is going to have when the season starts back up. They're going to have Black Lives Matter on the courts. I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. It's an insult to our intelligence when they come and present this type of shit to us. I don't need that. I don't need that at all. This system needs to address what it's been to our people, as opposed to sweeping it under the rug and telling us that now we're going to move forward. We can't move forward. There is no forward in this, because you haven't rectified what you've done prior to. We can't have conversations about reparations without the society looking at, well, these people want a handout, when every other group of people received their handout. Essentially, we're owed a debt. This conversation should be one that we can have. If America's not racist, like it claims, then we should be able to have this conversation without it being derailed, without it being deemed minuscule. We've allowed these motherfuckers to get away with this shit, and it's going to be up to us to keep the conversation where it needs to be, to keep the focus where it needs to be, to hold these people accountable. You still have people out here telling black people to go vote, and this is vote. We're going to vote our way to liberation. We understand that, we should understand by now that that's a bunch of horse shit. It's not real life shit. That's trash. Voting is a form of pageantry at this point, and it should be deemed as such. But that's still the narrative that's being pushed. To me, that in itself is disrespectful. I continue to see black people be disrespected, and most of the time we don't even see that we're being disrespected. We don't even notice it. We brush it over. You have these coons, bootlicks, and sellouts coming out here, giving their words or speaking their narrative. Treasonous. Their narrative is treasonous. It's a distraction to the main goals here. But we must understand that these people they've always existed. Coons and sellouts, they've been here. But at some point, we the people must outnumber the amount of coons that exist amongst us. And right now, that's not the case. There are too many of us that are pacified by symbolic gestures. Too many of us that are okay with the things that this society decides to call themselves giving black people as some form of restitution for racism. To claim that they're acknowledging us, and we'll be okay with that. And to me, that is trash. To me, that has caused us to be in the situation that we're in. We need to keep both our foots on their fucking necks. We don't need to take any breaks whatsoever. And if you're going to be having a conversation about racism, make sure that you understand institutional racism and systematic racism, or you'll end up having a conversation about race that begins and ends with some cave calling you a nigger. So, that's all the fuck I wanted to say about this. I have a lot of people sending me different things, and a lot of this stuff that we are considering different, I want y'all to understand it's the same. It's redundant. It's the same. You're beating a dead horse. Once you've seen one coon, you've seen them all. They all conducted themselves in the same way. They should be treated as traitors, and we aren't treating them like that yet. And we need to start treating them like that. Once you see these gestures that they're doing, renaming streets, putting Black Lives Matter on, different things. That stuff doesn't mean anything, y'all. It's the same thing. It's the same thing they've always done. Pacify us enough to make us go sit down and watch TV. That's it. That's all. It's the same stuff. So I understand that people like to deal with every single little topic as if it's the same, and it's not. I mean, as if it's different, and it's not. It's the same situation that we're in, and until we decide to take more of the militant approach to dealing with systematic racism, institutional racism, then we're going to be in the same boat. No pun intended, right? We're going to be sitting here in the same damn boat. Same one shipping our people into this nation, onto plantations. That's what we're going to be. That's why I noticed that we are. I don't see a lot of forward progress because we're taking a lot of the symbolic victories and we're allowing that to be enough. And we're allowing racism to only look at police brutality and white people calling black people niggers and things like that. That's just not enough, y'all. That's not enough. We have to make sure that we understand systematic racism, institutional racism, in an effort to have the conversations and stop letting these motherfuckers squirm out of it by talking about how non-racist they are. Bitch, that's not what the conversation is about. It's not about how non-racist you are. It's about how complacent you've been as this system, as this society, as this government has been racist against black people. So, y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Links to follow me on social media in the description box. Black first, second, and third. And we can give a fuck less about these symbolic gestures that they're making. Motherfucker, you need to hold these people accountable, hold these racists accountable, hold the caves accountable, and then the government itself needs to be held accountable. Run them reparations. If that's not a part of the conversation that we're having, then we're not having a real conversation. That needs to be in there. It's not just the cops, y'all. And we need to make sure that we drive that point home if we're going to have the conversation. Shout out Team Rob. Y'all already know what the fuck it is. I'm out.